Okay, here we are on video number 14. Video number 14 reads, VR Maestro explains how Book It Now and instant book requirements of the OTAs interfere with natural quote and sales processes required to maintain profitability for investor participation. That is, assuming a profit is desired. Very bad implications for Expedia, HomeAway, VRBO, and next 6 to 12 months. Okay, now I haven't really done this. I'm going to show you how this thing works. This is the master video list. If I go down here to videos, this is video 14, and if I click on videos 8 through 15, you see where 14 is here. It'll actually pull up a link when it's there, a link to view, and the timestamp will be here, the subject's here. And then what I do here is I fill in information that I'm going to show you. So this is how I build the outlines to do this. I showed you in the prior video that after these, there are some detailed tabs too. So it's kind of like master video list, summary video information that I use during the video cast or the screencast, and then there might be some supporting details that were outside of the website further to the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the about my vacation rental background and business practices, then about the 9 sales maximizing techniques. So here we go. So go to about my vacation rental background and business practices. Here's where we're going to go. The sections on this page include 2004 to 2017 overview. I was/am the top producer in Baltimore. People read, believe it or not, introduction to 9 sales maximizing techniques required for profitability, and was the sales data of millions of independent entrepreneurs used for starting venture-funded management companies and investment groups for the purposes of competing against us and me. Oh, you betcha. Okay. And this just references some drill down pages. So right here, basically what I do is I give you a background on my business on these properties from 2004 to 2017. I can't remember if I've shown you pictures yet of the product that I offered, but it was pretty damn sharp. It's very sharp. Let's see, my current website can be found here. I was a top producer in Baltimore. I'm using this because it's true. I realize some people, it's a little shocking to some. It's a little, sounds arrogant to some, but I need to convey the fact that I just showed you my sales numbers, and most people that I know of that do very well in the vacation rental business will do anywhere between 15 and 35% less than I would with 3 bedrooms. Okay. And that's just a fact. I mean, first of all, location, my location is better than almost all of my competition from a parking perspective. The product I offered is very, very unique for people who want a cool experience. I offer more than everybody else around me from a loft style perspective. If you want drywall or the vintage stuff, I don't. But a lot of people like that concept. So I was top producer in Baltimore. This tells you why. A lot of things that go into this. Let me see. I had homes in the right locations. I had homes that were intriguing and attractive in photos, and many said more so in person. I had homes that were impeccably maintained by a husband and wife maintenance crew. My houses are spotless. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better couple to take care of my business while I am remote. I've had my own website since 2006. I've had my own web-based business system in use since 2008 or so. So I've been doing what people are just starting to do now. I've been doing that for over a decade. I have a very, very fast digital screening process that's subtle and well honed. And what I mean by that is my ability to look at emails, categorize, judge, do research after 10 years and hundreds of inquiries. I can really get through my leads quickly. I have a very fast and flexible manual quoting process that I polish with time, which I'll go over later. I know when and how to say no. This is massive. Most people don't know how to say no properly so as not to piss people off when you don't want to piss them off. Also to say no when you want to take a risk. You need a longer booking for a specific set of dates or a more lucrative booking. The ability to say no is very difficult. It's one of the hardest things people have to learn who don't have sales background, and it's sometimes hard for people with sales background. My profits jumped when I learned the very fine balance of accepting and rejecting 2-day bookings based on timing and events. Again, this is an extension of the ability to say no. Very quick and detailed with email and in-stay servicing issues. As you'll see below, I spoke with, I think, less than 8 people in 10 years on the phone prior to them booking and arriving in my homes. So you're talking 1%. Everything else was done via mail in writing. The amount of headaches that removes and reduces is significant. And I screen people. If they couldn't go to the website and they couldn't read instructions and if they couldn't keep an email string going, I wouldn't book them. You can see it didn't affect my sales. And in fact, so the business I did do, I did with people that, generally speaking, spoke my language. They spoke email. So I have a set of detailed arrival and then-stay documents and checkout docs to dramatic limit questions and issues, and they establish mutual expectations that are appropriate for business we engaged in together. Can't tell you how many people in the forums I'm watching right now who are asking very basic questions about how they should manage this and how they do that, and all of that should have been covered on their website and or in their contract. I only have a 2-page contract. I don't like to flood people with a contract, but I have everything on my website. What to expect, what you're going to get from me, how the process works, how the booking process works, my issues, my hot buttons, it's all there. And I, if people ask me a question, I push them to my website. People are the folks that are still trying to stay in this business are grossly missing out on this, and it's not helping with this push by the OTAs to go to the instant books and stuff. People have no idea how to communicate. They don't know how to handle conflict. They don't know how to handle miscommunication in writing. So these new systems will make this worse, not better. People need to get better at all this, and they're going to get less practice. My guests fill out a 1-page checkout worksheet and email a text picture upon departure, and that has almost eliminated items left behind, and it's given me a very strong platform for dealing with irresponsible individual and or accidental or careless damage. And that was tougher to deal with without this. I just added a couple of years ago. This is massive for handling problematic checkouts. And I'm watching it in the forums. People have no clue how to handle that stuff. 3, people read, believe it or not. Fun fact, I did over 800,000 reservations in 12 years. I talked to less than 8 people on the phone during the booking and pre-stay process. And I think that's high. I bet it was closer to 5. So, maybe one person a year, not even one person every 2 years. So anybody who thinks that you can't book people without talking to them, you've missed it completely. Anybody who thinks there aren't people out there that will do business with you without talking to you on the phone, you're wrong. You've got to build your credibility online. You give links to yourself. You enable people to verify you. I have a vanity email address that's my name. That way people can go to my regular website about me too. Lots of ways to do it. Introduction to 9 sales maximizing techniques required for profitability. I'm going to get on that on the next page. And then, was my sales data used by millions of independent people? This really doesn't belong here. There is another page related to this on the publishing Expedia 911, Expedia turnkey in my data. That'll be done. A video will be done on that much later. But anyway, let's go on and go to publishing. No, about my vacation role, 9 sales maximizing techniques required for profitability. Okay, this is the part everybody's missing. I mean, anybody who wants to do $50,000 or $60,000 with a 3-bedroom, here is the flexibility that you need to do that work. First, you have to understand opportunity cost. If you take a 2-night weekend booking 2 months in advance during a busy season, you likely will have prevented a 3 to 7 night stay, and the chances of recovering those empty nights are lower than if you had said no to the 2-night booking to start with. However, with these OTAs, that's a problem. We'll get into that. Professional sales, you have to know how to set expectations and be realistic about meeting a customer's needs before they arrive. And you have to know how to say no to numerous things. Manual pricing is required. Queuing of outstanding quotes is required. Ability to say no. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. 1, I manually quote each booking. I can take all factors into consideration before providing pricing. Number of people, number of nights, local events, other existing bookings, other outstanding quotes, opportunity costs. I cannot do this with the OTAs, and this will decrease my profitability dramatically, and it will force me to seek more direct business. I don't mean steering people away from their platform. I mean using my mailing list, using my website, using Facebook and Google ads. Okay. The key here is I give people a big price quote range. I say, hey, my 2 nights are anywhere from $300 to $450 a night. Email me and ask. My 3 to 5 night bookings are $275 to $400 a night. Email me and ask. So I'm not misleading people. And then when I provide the quote, I tell them why it is what it is. If it's low, I tell them it's low and bring their attention to the fact that it's a good deal. If it's high, I tell them why it's high. And I tell them if they've got any flex, here's what will happen. Or if they came to me at another time, here's what their pricing would be. I queue outstanding overlapping quotes. Okay. In the traditional world, you get an email, you respond with a quote. 50% of the time you get an email back. If they're interested, they'll say, I'm interested, I'm ready to book. The other 50%, they'll say, I'm interested, I need to check with my group. And it may be anywhere from a day to 5 days to a week to 2 weeks before you hear back. I keep an open dialogue with them. I say, hey, great, sounds good. I'll let you know if another quote comes in. If and when another quote comes in, let's say I get a quote, I've got a quote out for 3 nights, but I get a quote for a week. Okay. I may not necessarily reach back out to the people that had their quote out for 3 nights. If the week's ready to book, I'll book it. Flip side is if I have a quote out for a week and I get a quote for a 3-night stay, I don't like turning people away who have money. So what I will typically say is I have a quote out for a week. Let me check with them. I'm going to give them first priority, and I'll get back to you in 12 to 24 hours. If they're not ready to book, chances are I'll be ready to book with you. You cannot do this without jeopardizing your account with these OTAs. Decrease in profitability, sales and profitability. I have the ability to say no communication related. When an email comes in and it says, my shit don't stink at gmail.com, or, miss bitch at gmail.com, literally people have this in their email addresses. That's the first sign that I'll go try to find them on Facebook or check them out. And typically the personality, the pictures posted publicly match the email. I mean, just from the email address alone, I can get that. From the phone numbers, I can tell if it's somebody who's local. If they've got a Baltimore number. I don't generally rent a lot to local Baltimore folks because I'm afraid of parties. I'm concerned about it. It gives me the opportunity to ask that. I've had people sending in inquiries that make it look like they're from out of town, but they've got a Baltimore number. Then I ask them, and they're from Baltimore. So without being able to see the email address and the phone number alone, I've lost 2 huge screening tools right off the bat. Okay. Then there's the issues of not being able to return emails. Literally just they chop email strings off, they cut them up. They every question they ask, they go back to VRBO site and start. You don't want to be dealing with those people. It's not prejudicial. It's about running a business and keeping your sanity. If you do that with these OTAs, you risk losing your account. I could accommodate same-day turns. Some folks cannot do same-day turns, meaning a check-out at 11 a.m. and a check-in at 4 p.m. I pay my cleaning crew extra, and we do that all the time. Approximately 25 to 33% of all of my bookings have a same-day turn involved on the front end or back end. If you can't do that alone, my sales are off by 25 to 30%. Now, maybe not, because maybe I'd leave a vacancy and maybe somebody else would come along. This is huge, okay? Now, here's the deal. I can accommodate last-minute bookings, and then there's a bigger but. One, I can accommodate them, but I don't advise it without significant additional screening, especially within 24 or 48 hours. The few people I've had try to book it within 24 and 48 hours through VRBO were without a doubt problematic. And usually it would get picked up with my credit card processor, which I was using PayPal. They have additional screening that most people don't have. And I'd have issues on cards that it saved me once or twice for sure with people that I suspected were fraudulent, but I gave the card a run and it bounced with the PayPal screening. Other than that, the last minute bookings, I have to verify with my cleaning company. With the OTA system, if I say I can take bookings in as little as 1 day's notice, and I get a request for that, but my cleaning crew can't accommodate, that'll be a negative ding for me. So again, I cannot. This is very difficult because I can't. Even a reservation that's 3 or 5 days out. If we've agreed with my cleaning company that they're going to take off, or they tell me that weekend, hey, we're going to be gone. I don't necessarily go out and block out my calendar right away for something like that because I don't usually get the requests. But this becomes a much bigger nightmare, especially with the so many dings and you're out. Again, I have the ability to say no opportunity related. This just goes back to, hey, they want to pay $300 a night for 2 nights in advance, and it just doesn't make sense. I manage all my minimum stays on a request by request basis, meaning. And here's a whole bunch of rules here I go through. Logic. These are logic loops I go through. I accept 2-night stays more than 30 days in advance for $450 a night. I accept 2-night stays more than 30 days in advance for $300 to $400 a night if. I accept 2-night stays within 30 days for $400 to $450 a night if. I have 4 to 5 night stays that include 4 to 5 night minimum stays that include things like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Okay. If I can't manage these this way, which you cannot, there's no pricing grid that any OTA can create as a database developer. You cannot handle this without some personal interaction. I'm going to decrease my sales. Okay. I accept bachelor and bachelorette parties as long as I get written commitment from the responsible party. He or she will be responsible. I've been doing this for years. I use extra screening, and I have a very specific process where I ask them to read something that's very direct, very in their face. And it basically says, I need this written back to me in writing. This exact text needs to be given back to me. Sometimes I say, you can cut it and paste it. You'd be shocked at a percentage of folks who just can't say, I'll take full responsibility for all of my friends. Works as a great screening tool. That said, most of my damage is from these groups, but after I've gotten this commitment and after I've gotten them to sign a check out sheet, collecting my damage from them hasn't been bad. I've had a couple bad experiences. I've had furniture disappear. People busted a freaking 6-foot high armoire and they just removed it from the house. I've had end tables gone. We walk in, there's just no end table. No, and it's not in the trash. I mean, they took it off site. So, that also, though, has increased my sales. So I've taken risks here. I also accept pets. People have always all these problems with pets. I have what I consider to be beautiful homes. I don't want dogs or cats pissing in them and doing all that stuff. I just have a very clear pet policy, a pet statement. I set expectations, and my human being guests by far cause more damage than any pets have. There's been very, very little issue with pets, very little. I set expectations on what they're supposed to do with the dog poop. It just set expectations. So the point here is that anyone who looked at my sales and did not look at these 9 things that I did to maximize my sales, and anyone who didn't realize that without these 6 of these 9 things, which either can't be executed with the OTAs or executing them, could jeopardize your good standing with the OTAs. There's no way. I mean, there's no way I could do 650 or 60,000. I mean, arguably, I'm struggling even to do 40,000. And if I get bound into this without Airbnb, it's not happening. And even with Airbnb, I'm going to be struggling to do 40, 45,000. I'm going to struggle to break even with a mortgage on $320,000. Okay. So keep that in mind as we shift over to these people that are coming to the market with $400,000 homes, higher interest rates, higher taxes, and without the flexibility that I had to do the sales numbers that I did for profit, they'd need to do to break even. This is a Chinese finger lock. Anybody coming to the marketplace with anything close to $400,000 pretty much can be well assured that the best they could do is break even, and the worst they can do is probably lose a couple $1,000s a month. So this is really relevant. You have to understand this to understand the box, to understand why I dug so deep into TriStar Investing's properties. This is what you needed to know. You needed to know that I know the sales process. I know the numbers. I know my numbers. I know what it took for me to get them. I know the limitations that are tied to our systems. And there's no way they could have been profitable. So that's why I started digging. All right, so this wraps up this video. We'll catch you another one here shortly.